Hello, everybody. So, freedom of press. I was thinking about this today, this morning, last night. Freedom of the press. I believe that freedom of the press has become too broad. And no, I'm not anti-freedom and all that. I mean, I'm sure there's some people who'll be like, well, you know, what, you want to regulate the press? No, I'm not saying that. But I believe freedom of the press has become too broad. And this, I started thinking about, I've thought about this several times, but it really came back to mind with this, I think it was a reporter from The Guardian that supposedly, or maybe did, got like basically body slammed by that Minnesota governor or Minnesota congressman. I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but they held a special election. Basically, the Guardian journalist was in the dude's face. It had been happening several times in a row from multiple people from the Guardian, apparently from the congressman's own words and from the congressman's reaction, saying, you know, you guys did this the other day, you guys did this last week, you just won't stop. And he had enough and either shoved the guy or body slammed him. But anyway, there's a point, you know, people are freaking out, you know, Republican bully, you know, this is obviously leftist narratives, Republican bullies and stuff like that. Freedom of the press, yada, yada, yada. There's a point in which freedom of the press does become too broad. To be able to hound somebody and get in their face and continuously be like right here asking them questions when they're trying to do something, they're trying to move, they're trying to go about their day. This is no different than Black Lives Matter blocking a highway. It really isn't. And I personally don't blame the guy for shoving the reporter. Just get the fuck out of here. It's like we've talked. Just because you don't like the answers you're getting doesn't mean you haven't gotten answers. So later, get out of my personal space or I will choke slam you. And as far as, and that's on that particular instance. I don't blame the guy for doing that. I don't blame movie stars that are just trying to go grocery shopping. For getting pissed off when there's hordes of cameras that are continuously following them. I mean, today's journalists are really just these fucking life-sucking vultures that, you can't have a life. If your name got in the spotlight at all, you're not allowed to have a life anymore outside of that name, outside of that persona, outside of being a movie star or a politician or something like that. So yeah, I don't blame some of these people for getting really pissed off and like socking a cameraman and shit like that. But also when it comes to freedom of the press, when it comes to what they can and can't publish, I think that's become too broad as well. And this is on both the left and right sides of the political spectrum. Left, right, and center. Nobody is innocent of this. The left, the right, libertarian, independent, every news source that is biased towards a political party or political agenda, being whether it's left, right, or center, they all post bullshit. They all print unfactual, borderline, completely made up bullshit. Not all the time. I'm just saying they do it, and it's accepted. their side is okay with that. The other sides are not okay with that. So left-wing news sources post a lot of bullshit and a lot of basically made-up stuff. And the right is pissed about it, and rightfully so. But the left doesn't see a problem with it because it's their bias. But the right does the same thing. Don't think for a second that Fox News would have printed half the shit that they printed about Barack Obama had Obama been a Republican. They just wouldn't have done it. But the same thing goes for libertarian and independent news sources. You know, every day you can find bullshit about, you know, facts, you know, libertarian polls, independent polls, you know, some of the things that are political hot topics for independents and libertarians, you find completely made up, skewed, twisted numbers about that as well. Nobody would accept it if you went into the doctor's office and your body was completely just riddled with cancer, or you had a brain tumor that was getting ready to, you know, literally explode in your head, and the doctor come out and be like, oh, you're fine, you're gonna live another 50 years, nothing wrong with you. Nobody would accept that. There would be if there was a doctor in the country, or a group of doctors in the country that habitually and regularly told people that were dying that there was absolutely nothing wrong with them, there would be national outrage about that on all sides of this political spectrum. But for some reason or another, we're okay with the media lying to us. Some reason or another, that falls under freedom of press, that they're allowed to lie to you. They're allowed to make shit up. Now, I've said before that if you fall for fake news bullshit, whether it's from independent, libertarian, right, left, center, or alternative news sources, that's on you, because you should be studying, you should be fact-checking and things like that. And I still stand firm with that. You should be fact-checking, just like somebody with with a disease, or, you know, getting ready to die should get a second opinion if they know they're getting ready to die. But if the first doctor they go to says, it's fine, here's somebody else in my collective of doctors to go to, and that doctor said, no, you're fine, nobody would accept that. Nobody would be okay with that. If you went to your parent-teacher conference and the student, your child, your son or daughter was failing in every class, and the teacher consistently told you, oh, they're doing fine, and then the end of the year comes and they're like, oh, by the way, your child has to do, you know, the 6th grade over again because they failed everything. But you said that throughout the whole year that they were doing fine. What's the deal with that? I mean, you know, we could have fixed things if you'd just told me the truth. Nobody would accept those lies from a teacher. Nobody would accept those lies from a doctor. But we accept it from the press under the guise of freedom of press. Why? Why are there not? So in a matter of speaking, yes, a certain amount of regulation probably should happen. You know, I'm all for deregulation of things that aren't needed, deregulation of a lot of taxpayer, you know, a lot of services that just, you know, use and abuse taxpayer money. But I don't know, and maybe I'm crazy, but maybe there should be regulations on journalism, on journalists, that if you're caught lying, blatantly lying to the American people, that it's a crime, because it's basically a breach of trust at that point. Just like the trust in a doctor's opinion, just like the trust in your teachers, you know, your child's teacher. People look to the news media to get information, to be informed about what's happening, not to be told made up bullshit stories. I don't know, but again, I think the freedom of press is far overreached what it should.